So we decided to go ahead and pick the rest of the plums, any that aren't bird and bug damaged, and I think we're going to juice them and make syrup. Okay, so after a couple weeks of picking, sharing, making, eating, this is what was left of our plum tree. Next up, juice. Okay, I wanted to show you a little bit of the process for steaming, but I literally do not have a good angle to video while I am using the stove because it stands alone on a wall. There's no countertop next to it, nowhere to put the camera, but I did want to show you kind of how this goes together. So this bottom piece here holds the water, so that is where the water goes. Then this piece goes on there, and that is the trough that catches the juice that comes out of this piece of surgical tubing. The fruit goes in here, and the lid keeps the heat in. So that's kind of what it looks like. Okay, so I've got the top loaded with plums, and I wanted to show you, I put a TV tray here with a big pot on it, and that catches the juice. We are getting juice. Ouch, that's hot. Okay, our first batch of juice is done, and it looks like we got about 5 quarts. I'm guessing we will get that much twice over again by the time we are done. Okay, after our second batch, we are at nearly 12 quarts of juice. Third batch is in progress. So this was the Plum Kvass that I started the day before yesterday. I thought it was going to take close to a week. This is the second towel I've had over it. It's wet this morning. So I think it's done. It was wet last night when I went to bed, but it was like midnight and I did not have the energy to bottle it. So I'm hoping it didn't get to the point of vinegar, so we will look at that. Over here I've got yogurt going that is done, that will need to be put into the yogurt separator. This is like plum pulp under there. My situation this morning, we have dishes and a stove top full of juice. It ended up making 5 gallons of juice. So this morning I'm going to get this kitchen cleaned up, get the juice boiling, because we are going to spend the day cooking it down to syrup. Okay, here we are about 40 minutes later. I got the kitchen tidied up a bit, dishwasher going. These are getting close to a boil where we will just let them cook. I'm guessing it will take most of the day. Down to a syrup. It says to reduce it by half, but since I used a steam juicer, my water content is likely a little bit higher. So I do not think we're going to end up with, you know, it's 5 gallons of juice. I don't think we're going to end up with 2.5 gallons of syrup. I'd be happy even if we get 1, but I think it'll probably be more like 1.5. I do like my syrup pretty thick, and I want it to be concentrated enough that when I add the lemon juice to make it safe, it doesn't make it too tart. I will keep you posted. So I know yogurt making isn't part of my Every Bit Counts challenge, although it could be. This milk was nearing its expiration date and we weren't going to get it drank in time, so I made it into yogurt to buy it a little more shelf life in the fridge. But I am going to go ahead and show you how I separate it. I will probably do a whole yogurt video maybe next month. But I will show you how I separate it into Greek yogurt. And the whey will collect down here, the yogurt stays in the top, because the whey will tie into a video I'm planning on doing this week that is part of the Every Bit Counts challenge. So I thought I'd go ahead and show you where my whey will come from. This will separate a half gallon of yogurt. This was actually more like 3/4 of a gallon that went in here, so it's not going to be enough to do, I won't be able to fit the whole thing in here. But I will just fill this up all the way to the top. And it starts separating immediately. I don't know if you can see it dripping yet. I'll show you again when we're done. There will probably be a little bit of a puddle that you'll be able to see better. And then the rest of this will just go in the fridge. This will also go in the fridge during its separation time. I let it separate for at least 24 hours because my husband likes a really thick yogurt. I've had it in the separator for up to a week and he likes that even better because it's just really thick by then. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it. And then you also want to make sure that you, let me grab a container, that you keep a culture out for future batches. You only need a few tablespoons, up to like maybe a 1/4 cup if you're doing a half gallon, but I always just fill one of these gallon containers and it does a really good job. I have heard people complain that after a few batches their home cultures aren't as effective, and so they buy a new store-bought culture, which is just plain yogurt with active cultures, active enzymes. So I don't know if adding the extra is what keeps mine strong, but I have not, the only time I've ever had to buy a new yogurt to inoculate my yogurt is if I forgot to do this. Or if we've gone on vacation and I just felt it was too long in the fridge for it to be good. So then I would get a new yogurt and start over. So I'm just going to put the rest of this into a jar to separate later. But I just wanted to show you this because, like I said, the whey will collect down here in the bottom. So yeah, so you can see it's already starting to puddle here. And that whey is going to be used in a future video this week. So I just wanted to tie it all in for you. Okay, I'm back again for this segment of our plum journey. At this point, we are actually on day 2. Yesterday, we picked the plums and juiced the plums. I started some kvass the day before when we did the plum liqueurs. It is already ready. It was actually probably ready last night, but I was juicing until almost midnight, and I just did not have the energy to bottle it. So I'm going to do that this morning. On the stove, I have the plum juice boiling. We are trying to boil that down to a syrup. It is going strong. I'm guessing it will still take most of the day. I have it boiling really hard right now, but as we get closer and those sugars concentrate, I will have to turn it down to a simmer to make sure it doesn't scorch and keep an eye on it for it to be the right flavor and consistency. I just wanted to do a reminder, since this is a fermentation project, that we are giving away a copy of Sandra Katz's Fermentation Journeys. I will link the video with how to enter that contest in this video description. You will go to that video, you will like, comment, and subscribe, and we will choose random from those comments using an online, I think it's called Comment Shark, tool that I found online. So we will do that as well. These plums, I thought they were going to take like a full week. Like the blueberries take longer than the caneberries. I was really surprised last night when I went to bed, the towel that I had dripped over it was soaking wet and it was in a puddle. Now, I used to always put my jars in a vessel that would catch that if they dripped, because a lot of times the ferments will bubble up. I thought we were days away from it being ready, but it is done. So I cleaned it up, wiped it down, gave it a stir last night, put a fresh towel over it, and that towel was soaking wet this morning. So this is very active. I stirred it again this morning. I could hear the fizzy, hear those bubbles. So I'm just going to go ahead. I tasted it. It doesn't have a strong fermentation taste. It is still pretty sweet, but these plums are incredibly sweet. So I don't know that that sweetness will ever go away, and probably why it is so active. It had plenty of sugar to feed it. I might not have even needed to add sugar to it. That might be something to try next year. So I'm going to go ahead and strain these off. The process is the same as we did for the raspberries and blueberries. We're just going to let this strain to get the solids off. And then I will transfer it to this just because I like the control that this spout provides over these big 8-quart measuring cups. I just don't feel like I have as much control of those. This is taking longer to drain, I think because the skins of the plums. I ran into that yesterday when I was juicing. The skins of those plums were just lining the juicer strainer level. So this might take a while. I don't even know if I will make you guys wait for this because it's taking so long. So this today will officially, I hope, end our plum journey, as long as the juice cooks down early enough that I can turn it into syrup and get it jarred up this evening or this afternoon. I think it just depends on how much time I can devote to allowing it to hard boil and be watching it. I do have to work today, so I will have to turn that down. I do work from home, so that is nice because I can have it on a simmer and check it on my breaks. So yeah, but we got an early start. Last night I was up till about almost midnight, up at 5:30 this morning, started right in on dishes. I showed you, I think in the last segment, like it looked like a bomb had gone off in here. I have a load going in the dishwasher, the next load ready. Some of that bigger stuff I could have washed by hand, but I really like to run it through sanitized cycle when it's my canning equipment. So I'm just going to work through it today. It'll be fine. And then I'll have to get some jars in for the syrup. The concentration on the syrup that I'm looking for, I like a thick syrup. The directions said to reduce it by half, but that was also using a stovetop juice extraction where you just throw your plums in a pot with maybe a little bit of water to get it going, cook them down until they're juice, run it through a jelly bag or a cheesecloth or something like that to strain out the solids, and then you're left with the juice. I used a steam juicer, so there is condensation in there. It is a little bit diluted. I wasn't that worried about it because I'm going to cook that all off. But it will take a little bit longer, and my 5 gallons of juice isn't going to yield 2.5 gallons of syrup. I will cook it down farther than that. I'm completely aware of that and fine with it. You know, we were just scrambling for a way to use these plums. When I mentioned the syrup idea, my husband thought that sounded like a great idea and was excited about it. As you saw, he helped pick the plums. Actually, he picked most of them. I was running containers back and forth to the house to get them out of the sun as he was filling them. So, yeah, we're just trying to use them up. Like I've said in previous videos, we gave away so many. We made several projects, as you saw, and we're still making projects. So we just wanted to get them used up and feel good about them not going to waste. I had thought about taking them to our local food box, but by yesterday they were getting they were very ripe. I wouldn't say they were overripe. They still taste wonderful, but they were soft. So taking them to the food box would have maybe been an option, but I wouldn't have been able to do it until today, which would have just been one more day that they were ripening. And even after we picked them yesterday, like the difference between the firmness of them when I did the first batch of juice versus the one 4 hours later, the fourth batch of juice. They had already softened up a lot. So I didn't feel good about that. It's something I might keep in mind if we're blessed with a bounty like we had this year, next year. Pick them a little early, give some to the food box. I mean, it would be a good thing to do. So I am, okay, I think, whoops, I overflowed it a little bit. That's probably okay, because I will do a second strain going into the jars. So I'm going to pause this, let this continue to drip, and bring you back to bottle. Okay, I am back to get these bottled. Let's get it in this one first. I was guessing that we'll need 6 bottles. We'll see what we actually end up with. And then I'm hoping that'll be it for a while on the kvass until we get this drank. I do like making it year round, and being able to use frozen berries makes that possible. Okay, I can tell this whole process is going to take a while. This, there is obviously still a lot of pulp in the juice that has strained through. So I am not going to make you guys watch me do 6 bottles this way. You saw the process before. I'm going to call this good. I will show you maybe throughout the day how our syrup making is going and bring you along for that jarring and canning process. Plum syrup update. We are condensed down to 1 pan. 1 pot. Yay. And it's only 10 after 8. So that's exciting. Okay, I'm back to try to get this kvass bottled. I ended up running it through some cheesecloth and I lost a lot of my volume. It got absorbed into the fabric. When I tried to give it a squeeze, some of the pulp came through, which is what I was trying to avoid. So I've got a little over 2 cups here and some more in a bowl over there. I had thrown the preferred measuring cup in the dishwasher, so it's going in there right now. So I'm going to see if I can do this without making too big of a mess. And we got the syrup condensed down to just 1 pot. That is exciting. What is not exciting is that I just tasted it and it's kind of got a bitterness to it. So that is a bummer. I will continue to cook it down, condense it, concentrate it, get it down to the thickness that I want, and then see how it tastes. I was hoping this was going to be a no sugar added thing. The plums are so sweet. I don't know where the bitterness came from. I don't know if, you know, there were some tannins from maybe a couple of stems that went through the steaming process, or the pits. I mean, you're perfectly fine to use that that juicer, that steam juicer, with pits and seeds in it, but maybe it did affect the flavor. I don't know. So we'll see. I'm still hopeful that as it condenses down that bitterness isn't going to condense. If it does, I'll either have to add sugar or scrap it, which I really don't want to do. It's not been a lot of hands-on work, just time consuming. It hasn't been hard, but I hate to see it go to waste. So we'll probably try to find a way to salvage it one way or another, no matter what. Let me grab the rest of this juice. Okay, I might have got this a little full. See if I can do this without making a humongous mess. We might not have lost as much volume as I thought, which is nice. Now this has no bitterness. This tastes really good, so I'm excited about that. Definitely have enough for one more. I thought I would get 6 bottles. It looks like I'm gonna get 5.5, but I'm not gonna bottle the half bottle. I will just drink it. So we only lost probably a half a cup. I guess that's not too bad. Oh, actually there's not as much there. We might have lost a full cup of volume. Still not horrible. When I saw it, what I thought was most of it in the 2-cup measuring cup, I thought I had lost a lot more. So that's not terrible. Okay, so we have 5 bottles of Plum Kvass. The next time I come back, it will either be for a syrup update or just getting it bottled up and in the canner. Alright, I'm back for what feels like the millionth segment. Hopefully this will be the last. I might attach a picture of how these look when they come out. It is now 8:30 p.m. so I have had this cooking down for 14 hours. I have mixed feelings about it. It tastes okay now, but when I tasted it halfway through the day, it was extremely bitter. I did a little research and found out that I probably boiled it too hot, and that released tannins from the skins, making it bitter. So what I was hoping was going to be a no sugar added syrup has sugar in it. I did some brown sugar and some vanilla to try to offset that bitterness, and it does taste good now. It is still not as thick as I was hoping it would get, but in a couple of my ball recipes, you know, it basically says that fruit syrups just don't tend to get as thick as what you think of as syrup, but that you can add, you know, cornstarch, clear gel, different things to thicken it at the time of serving it. When you open the jar, you can thicken what the contents are if you want a thicker syrup. So I am finally getting these jarred up. It's going to be a few batches because this still was 12 quarts of syrup here. So it will be, I don't remember how many I can fit in this water bath canner that I have on the stove. If it's 8, I'll have to be doing 3 batches of it. Luckily it is water bath canned, so it only takes 15 minutes at my elevation, and that, you know, I'll be able to pump through that pretty quick still tonight. I will just jar up what will fit in the canner, keep the rest on the stove staying warm until I'm ready to put it in jars for the next batch. So ultimately I'm happy with the result, but it was basically a 2-day process between juicing the plums and then letting this cook down. It did recommend adding spices like cardamom, but my husband is not the biggest fan of the warm spices, so I decided not to do that. Although it's going to make probably 24 jars, I could do some of them spiced, I guess, and just label them as such. I think I'm going to start, I think I have 10 jars out, but I think I'm just going to start with 8 and see how many I can get in the canner. It got really, really dark. It's a pretty color though, but between the, you know, just open air boiling and the brown sugar, it really darkened up quite a bit. And I did finally get all my dishes done. I think I did 4 or 5 loads in the dishwasher today, counting the jars here on this last load. I like to get them sanitized and use them warm right out of the dishwasher while it's still in the keep warm or drying cycle. Because I don't have to worry about thermal shocking my jars. So that is very nice. Like, I'll get these ones used up and the others are still in the dishwasher, staying warm for the next batch. Alright, I'm just going to give these rims a wipe down and put lids on them. These lids have been washed. These are just ball lids and they no longer require heating them like they used to recommend, but some brands still do, so be sure to, you know, take the time to read the directions on your lids, because it's a lot of work to go through this much effort just to have lid failures. Sometimes I wipe my rims down with vinegar, especially if it is something greasy or oily like meat. Since this is just a syrup, I am just using hot water. I actually pulled some hot water out of the hot water bath canner that was boiling, so it is very hot water. I actually had to search to find regular mouth jars. I use mostly wide mouth, but for stuff like this, I don't mind the regular, and the lids are a little bit cheaper. So I do try to use regular size when it's a product that I don't mind using them for. So I'm going to pause you, see if all of these fit in there, and if I need to come back and do some more. Okay, I can definitely fit one more in there. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up one more. If you have other good uses for syrup, let me know, because this is definitely more than a year's supply for us. We probably eat pancakes or waffles like once a month at the most. Alright, I'll put this one in there and I'll be right back. Alright, there they are in the canner. That'll go back to a full rolling boil, and we will put a lid on it and start a timer for 15 minutes. First batch done, and they have already sealed in the time I was just letting them adjust to the temperature of the room. Yay! It is now a 10:15, but we ended up with 26 pints. I have the last batch going right now, and I am getting ready to call it a day.